per usual, if you haven't ever been to one of our team meetings, we start out with what we call bucket fills. So bucket fills are either something that someone did really great for you here or in your life, or something that's really awesome that's happening right now. So we always like to get at least 5 or 6 of them. So who wants to start?
Me.
Wendy does.
Shocking.
And she brings the energy.
There we go. So here's the good news. We have 2 buyers under contract.
No, seriously, that's great news.
Seriously. And we have 2 listings going live this week.
Awesome.
Nice.
Buyers
Yeah.
under contract.
List their homes, yay.
That is awesome.
Wendy and Barry, one Jessica, super happy.
Awesome. 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 Cool.
From the social media stuff that I've been posting about real estate, a lot of people have been like asking me questions and giving like really good feedback. So it's encouraging.
So there's engagement with it. It's not just like out there in the ether somewhere and nobody's seeing it. That's awesome. And it was like difficult for you to put stuff like that out there. So you're seeing some of it pay off. Awesome. It works.
Weird.
All right.
I unfortunately wasn't able to be on it, so I need to go back and watch it, but I've just heard incredible things about Cam's training last week. I know she's probably not on. She's on a sailboat, I think I saw this morning, a 7-day sail and snorkel. St. John, I think, so living her best life, good for her. But we'll have to make sure to recognize her when she gets back, because I've heard just awesome things from anybody that was on or watched and got the sheet and are using it and done all the things. So.
I mean, it's truly, I'm glad you brought that up. It's truly, I was talking to some people about it, unheard of for anybody really to open up their business, like completely transparently, with real numbers on what her profit and losses, and feel very comfortable with it, and then share. Like she legitimately shared that template so that if you wanted it, you could have it. It was incredible. So if you haven't watched that, it is on
YouTube channel.
Is our YouTube channel, so you can go in there and watch it, as well as then it says how you can get per free profit and loss as well. All right, who else? What else is good?
Cash contracts that close in a week.
You what?
Cash contracts that close in a week.
Nice, nice. That's always fun. That's always definitely
I love
fun.
listing one week and then the next week closing.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Awesome. Anyone on Zoom have anything?
You know, I'm seeing more of those. Like those pretty quick, like a buyer rep signed in January and closing in January.
Well, I think people are finally like, if they have the cash, they're like, whatever, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get it closed, and then I can, do a cash out on the end.
Yeah.
So, yeah, awesome. Anyone on Zoom have anything good?
How about you, Nina? Jelena? No, Nina. Is she on?
I feel like Justin just unmuted.
Oh.
All right. I wanted to say, yesterday we had a leadership meeting, and before that, right, we work with four groups, four offices in our Butler group. So Minneapolis Lakes, us, Edina, and Otsego. And I would say that I have not ever been around the leadership that our 4 market centers have. It's really interesting when you look at brokerages overall, the type of leadership and the type of conversations that we have are really unique. And I don't think we always recognize it until you sit there and you reflect on something. And yesterday it was about, you always hear survival of the fittest, and it was unique because it said it's survival in the best ecosystem, right? And if I was to plot myself into a different ecosystem, I don't know if it would be the same. So I'm really grateful for not just our leadership team. I'm really grateful for John and Jake and the other leadership teams that have just, been able and open to sharing ideas to help our market center grow as well. So it's a really cool experience, especially with some of the centralization we're doing with the training.
And all 4 of our brokerages are in the top 100 brokerages nationwide, right?
Yeah. Yep. So there's going to be a publication about the 4 of us being the top 100 brokerages within the nation. And that's like every single brokerage, every single franchise, our four together are in the top 100, which is a pretty cool thing. And John got interviewed. John Butler, our operating principal, got interviewed for that. So not many people can say things like that, especially when it's, not a large number in regards to competing against some of the big box, because every Keller Williams is owned and operated differently. So it's a really cool experience, and I'm glad that you guys are all a part of it. I don't know if two people want to introduce themselves. We usually have the newbies. One I know is not here yet, but you guys want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Right, I was hoping to avoid this.
Nope.
Hi, it's good to be here, everybody. My name is Damone. I've literally been licensed for like a week. It's kind of a dream. I've always been surrounded by real estate. A lot of my family had rental income property growing up and things of that nature. And I've just always loved the architecture and the design aspect of it. I love the education that you guys provide here. I'm very, very excited to get aboard and just kind of unscrambling the brains and getting started. So anyway.
Well, we welcome you.
Got a nice in about 5 years, but then mainly work with rentals. And,
There are a lot of people really excited about you guys coming, so they can pick your brain on property management. So be ready. Welcome to you guys.
Awesome.
All right. I forget what's next. Upcoming training. Speaking of training, tomorrow. So part of our centralization, not all the trainings are here. However, I really do encourage you to be in person to these trainings if you can make them, including the profit and loss. That was great to be in person versus sometimes on Zoom. Tomorrow, it's going to be at the Lakes office at 1 o'clock. And if you are going to go, I would get there early because I do know that it's going to be a lot of people going in because David Arbit breaks down numbers in a very different way, which is incredibly beneficial for you in speaking to buyers and sellers right now, especially because the one thing that everyone's talking about is inventory is low. And that story can be changed depending on how you utilize these numbers, right? Yes, inventory is low, but what does that mean? Does that mean that we are saturated with buyers that are really excited about an opportunity to buy your house, right? Words matter and how you switch that and how you add the data into it. So having him do that tomorrow would be really, really beneficial for whatever aspect of business you're in. And then on Tuesday, the 15th, I will be running a vision board workshop here. And when we talk about growth, a lot of people talk about growth of their business, but the growth of your business doesn't really matter if your personal life and the things that you're wanting to accomplish do not come to fruition. If you want to talk about that with someone, Derek shared a story, I don't know, it was last year, where he looked at his vision board, but he didn't really realize he was looking at it every day. And all of a sudden one day, I think it was Amy that maybe said, do you realize that everything you had on your vision board happened? And he was like, it did, didn't it? Right? So it's powerful, like putting that out there, even if it's like in the subconscious. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun to
His new vision board done.
and he just did his new vision board. Yeah. I'm a huge vision board person. So that is also at 1 o'clock here. So it'll be kind of fun to pick things out, a little arts and crafts as well. Mega agent interview with Bethany Nelson will be on Thursday. Also at 1, that'll be in Edina, and Perry Hirth is the one that facilitates those interviews to kind of see how she built her business and where she's at. And then creating custom smart plans will be Tuesday, March 22nd, and that is via Zoom at 1 o'clock. So that's kind of a more hands-on. You're going to create something while you're on the Zoom with him, which is nice to kind of fumble through that together. And then after this, there's going to be a lunch and learn with Home Partners of America about the lease to purchase program. So that's going to be from here, I think 12 to 1. So if you have nothing signed up yet, stay here and learn a little bit more about that. Oh yeah, you can do Zoom as well. Yep. All right. So our culture award last month was Chris. So he gets to present that to someone new today.
Yours?
You can do whatever you would
We
like.
don't have mics.
Yeah, you can go wherever you want.
So for this award, the Joe Cashmore Culture Award, I want to nominate Jeff Stedman. And here he was like the first person that like walked up and talked to me, and he's always welcoming me to like come in and like talk with him in his office. And he every single day, like I see him, he's on his phone. That's inspiring because I'm not on the phone. He works really hard, and like even though he's in the commercial real estate and I'm in residential, I think there's like a really good relationship starting. So yeah.
Aw.
Speech. Speech.
Just like Ann, I'm walking to
You know, but everything you said was so true. Jeff is in there, always on his phone, always working hard, and always welcomes everyone that comes around and comes by. And you're a big asset to have in this work.
Well, and I think it's one where you don't realize what you're doing, right? It's just that those are the habits that you formed over, whatever amount of time in doing your business, and people notice. People notice what the habits are, and it's awesome, and you're making a difference. So thank you. All right, so we are going to go through some congratulations. So our first closings. We have Michael, I'm not sure if he's in here, and then we have Rachel with her first closing as well. I believe this is Colleen with capping is our next slide. If I
better not.
remember. Sorry. All right, awesome. And Colleen has capped as well. We do have 100%. She does. She's right here. All right, so in regards to numbers, I want to just always remind you that in the listings portion, it's any of the listings that are, it's not withheld, it's actually live on the MLS. So sometimes people will say, I took, 10 listings last month, but they're withheld until the following month. So the numbers, we can make mistakes, absolutely, but it's ones that have went live. So when we're counting those, just make sure that you're aware of that piece of it. All right, so listings taken for February. Scott Nagel had 2, Tam had 1, Colleen had 1, Taylor had 1, Jane and 5, 995 for Julie. The top individuals closed volume for February. We had Tam at 1.2. We had Tam in the first position, and then we had Jim. And then for top teams, listings taken in February, we had the Desurics with 2. All right, closed volume, the Desert Property Twins are at 2.3. Closed GCI, we've got the Desert Property Twins in first. Arbor Home Team in fifth. So top groups, we have the homers with listings taken of 20. The Ribbon team at 7. Local group at 7. At 4. Huge numbers though. I mean, no matter what, I mean, even going at the 4 and the 7 and the 7 and the 20, those are big numbers, especially when we're talking about inventory right now. If you are having trouble getting listings, go talk to these people, right? Because they're performing and they're doing it. And that's not but just by luck or chance, right? You don't get 7 listings just by like, I just randomly ran into 7 people that wanted to sell. So truly they like being a resource and they like providing that value. So nice job on their part, which also the homers did win the February listing contest of all 4 market centers. So listings taken volume at 20.3 million. 73. So really big numbers. All right, closed volume. We have the Homers Group at 5.5 million. We're on the real estate group. GCI, Homers Group in the number 1 seat. Brahma Real Estate Group at 2. Okay, so we look at those numbers and you're gonna see, obviously there's the similar names that happen, right? So when we look at this, I'm actually gonna also have Heather show you how to find your own numbers year over year, right? So these are office numbers, where we're performing as KW Lake Minnetonka versus the MLS versus our area, right? So this is great if you don't have your own data. If you do have your own data, number one, it's great for business planning on where you see the ups and downs. And is that following with the same trends as what the MLS is following? Or do you have different trends? You work new construction where May is a really high acquisition of land and October is a really high closing out of the new construction. You'll figure out your own patterns and how to fill those in. But for right now, we're going to go through our market center. So closed units, we're down 11%. The MLS is up 1% or 1.5%, and our area is down 1.5%. Closed volume, we are just about even, so 0.9, and then MLS is actually up 13%, and our area is up 9%. Listings taken, we are down 22%. The MLS is down 0.4%, and our area is down 4.9. So I want to look at that piece, right? So listings taken, we're down, but we just saw some pretty big numbers of some teams. So what does that say to you guys as a market center? Like, what do you guys take from that? We need more individual people doing listings, right? So I think was it January? We only had one individual agent taking a listing. And that's not a conversation of like, oh no, that's more of me wanting you guys to succeed. So what do we need to help with on that aspect to get more listings for you guys, right? Do you feel uncomfortable with scripts? Are you not sure how to find those leads? We're here to help with that, right? So no question is a dumb question, because we want to see that number either at least pacing, if not outpacing the MLS as well as our area. And then that's also money in your bank account, right? To kind of reach whatever goals you personally want to. Listings taken volume, we're down 13%. MLS is up 9%, and our area is up 2%. Listings sold, down 15% here. MLS is up 1%, and our area is down 1%. Listings sold volume, that's up kind of across the board always, right? So that lack of inventory and the kind of demand is making that volume go up. But I still like us to look at actual listings sold number more than volume, because that volume number can fluctuate really quick if a market shifts, right? So volume can change pretty dramatically depending on how much inventory you have in the works for listings. Contracts written. This is the one I like to look at the most, because this is going to say where we're going to end up next month, right? So if we're down 18%, those listings taken or those listings sold is going to be down next month. Across the board, everyone is down on written contracts, right? So those numbers, when we look at it in March, closed units is going to be down, right? That's what we can project unless people just haven't turned anything in, which sometimes that happens. But we're down 18%, MLS is down 0.1, and our area is down 3%. Contract written volume is down 2%, MLS is up 10%, and our area is up 5%. What do you guys take from these numbers?
There's opportunity out there. We just got to get it.
There's opportunity. I love that.
Our share.
I love that. There's opportunity out there, and it's competitive, right? There are more agents coming into the market. There's a ton of different offices and brokerages. We just have to capitalize on the opportunities that are out there. All right. So this is year over year. So last year we were at 67 closed units. This year we were at 49. Closed volume, we were at 27 million. This year we were at 20.6. Listings taken, we actually surpassed. Last year we got 50 this year and 46 last year. Again, it's those months that we have the listing contest that everyone gets really excited. And I would love to do a listing contest every single month. However, the real contest though, right, is not like I don't want to discount the contest. I don't want to discount that in any way. But do you know how many 2-night stays that you could have with a commission check in your pocket every single month versus just winning that? Like, I mean, honestly, right? Like, I don't know how to shift our mindset sometimes on that. And we're going to continue doing listing contests because people get really excited about it. And if there's another way to push that to a different level of maybe it's just the competitive edge part of like who's taking the most and who can win what, we'll do that. I mean, if you want that, we can put that wherever you'd like to see. But I'd love to keep that kind of momentum going, you know, moving into March and April and May. Jim, you had a
Somewhere up on here is a bold law that says what you
focus on
what you focus on expands. My mind went stupid. Yeah, what you focus on expands. So because we had the contest, we focused on listings.
Yep.
But if we have that mindset every single month, it's going to happen.
Yep. And all you need is one, because from one listing, you essentially can door knock and you can pull another listing from that one listing, and then it just starts snowballing. All right. So last year we were at sold volume. Because it's usually a larger number, right? And this is a conversation that people are like, we don't want to put that we profit shared only $1 this year, and last year we profit shared 12. But I think it's really important. I think it's really important in the aspect of the market center is also a business, right? And we made a really, really amazing business decision to cut our caps, right? And that affects a business's bottom line, just like it's going to affect your bottom line in a positive way. So in the next few months, that profit share number is going to look very different, right? Because our company dollar that is coming in, which is the money coming from your cap into the office, is a lot lower, right? Every single person that was cut by quite a bit. And we're absolutely excited about that. And part of that is getting you guys into production, number one, so that we are a more productive office. I think we were at 33% productivity. So that meant that only 33% of our agents were writing contracts last month. That's really, really low. So we want to be here to help support that piece. And then as we're, experiencing new people into the market center, that is also bringing in a different vibe, right? It's bringing in new ideas. It's bringing in new energy. And that's why growth is important in multiple ways. Do you guys have questions about that? I mean, that's a pretty different number. I mean, when you saw that, did you guys have questions on why?
Yeah, it makes sense to cut the cap.
Yeah. Yep. Units are down, and it was a decision that we were going to have. It was going to be 18 months where it would be a time frame of really being able to be back to normal as us, as a business, as a market center, right? And that's with growth as well as increasing productivity. Any other questions regarding that? It's really exciting, you guys. I mean, you might not think that number looks exciting right now, but it's providing a lot of opportunity for people, which is awesome, which is really awesome. And that's the reason that we really, truly are here.
You're still winning. Right?
Yeah.
The individual agents are absolutely winning on a level that they probably weren't before. And part of the, when we talk about the P&L class, that looks very different. Your P&L, where are you going to put that extra money? You're going to reinvest that. or you're gonna, go on a vacation, who knows? But it's exciting. It's exciting for you guys as agents. All right, do you want to show us how they can find their own multi-year trends, Heather, real quick? Sure. So as we go through this as a market center, we look at this every single month, right? We're like, where are we at? Where do we stand?
In my hand all the time.
We're looking at those printouts all the time. One of the biggest ones that we just realized is last year we were at what, 6.9% for company dollar compared to GCI, right? So that's money that's taken in by the market center compared to what you guys make as agents. So 6.9 overall last year percent. In January, it was 3.1. And in February, it was 5.1. So it's things like that too, where you guys can look at your own business of where are your expenses compared to what you're bringing in, or where is your, if you ever talk to someone at a different brokerage, what they pay out versus where here, right? That's a conversation to have as well. Okay.
And I chose to use an agent's login because my reports look a little different than your guys's. So this is what you guys see. So this is mykw.kw.com. This is the same login as your command. If you have any trouble getting into my KW, come see me and I'll help you get logged in. Make sure you know your username correctly and everything like that. So when you log into mykw.kw.com, you'll see in this upper left-hand corner is this button called reports right near your picture. That's all you have to do is you're clicking on this reports. It's going to open up a new screen for you. It does take a second because it's gathering all the reports. Yeah, if you need any trouble getting into here, come see me and I can help you, or send me an email. I'll make sure we have your username right.
Does anyone look at theirs monthly? Quarterly? You do? Okay.
I know desserts look at them a lot, and I do print them and give them to the ALC, or I give them to the ALC before every one of their ALC meetings, and I believe they all use them, correct?
That was why Derek did this.
Yeah. He doesn't get them, but he gets them every month.
He was like, yeah, look at that.
So you're gonna go into this is gonna open, it's gonna have reports. And this is gonna show you kind of the different reports that you can look at, but you can even look at rankings to where you compare with other agents or teams in the market centers. There's quite a bit here. You can get all your profit share numbers, everything on here. You can see your goals versus actual that you kind of need to do if you use command at a high level with your appointments and stuff.
The cool thing that I just learned from this report from Heather yesterday is that the little yellow icon folder.
Yep.
You click on that, that's archive.
Yep. So that's
So
previous
you can-
months.
Yes, I didn't realize that you could see back,
That little
for as
yellow
long as you've been a
folder right there.
KW.
So here's kind of the associate reports that you could use quite often every day. These are updated monthly after I transmit. So usually by the 5th business day of the month, I would say that these are updated by. And these are everything that you can go in and see. But one of the popular, this is your closed transactions, that's going to give you a list and summary of everything you've closed, address and everything. So your client's name, if you put it into my Winmore system, all of that's going to be on there. So your income summary, this is going to show you the difference between GCI that you've taken in and your 1099 income, less your cost of sales. All of your listings are going to be here. Your monthly production summary just gives you a month to date, little summary of what it is. But here's the one that we look at all the time, which is called our multi-year trends. So that's what's in my hand for the market center. This shows me all my year over year and all my month over month numbers. It's a very useful report. It's of everything from your GCI, your 1099 income, your listings taken, your listings sold. Everything is going to be in this report. It's very, very helpful and very useful. And it is a good tool to look at every single month.
Well, it's a good tool too, to look at when you feel something in your business, right? We feel busy or we feel, whatever. But that could be burnout, that could be, other things in life where when you look at this, you can actually see where you're at, right? So if you were to look at like their closed units, okay? So overall, they have been going up and up and up each year, right? So you can see this increase. And but when you look at it, right, then it'll show percentages. So if you were to go into a listing presentation, or you're trying to talk about your own business to someone, if they ask, you don't even have to say it. You could print these things out. What has been your business growth over, whatever amount of time? But then when you look at this, like when you see the difference, right? I mean, each year in February, they closed 5 units. I mean, where are the differences at? You know what I mean? Which month do they sell the most in? Looks like May. May and July, right? So you can look for patterns. Why is that? Right? Like, why are you selling most in that month? Are you focused on listings in, you know, February and March and they go live in April? You can kind of figure that out. And at that point, I'd look in, if it's 12 here and there were 17 here, what happened? What happened with that? And what was I doing 3 months before that? Because I'm going to do it again. Right? So you can kind of sit there and you can analyze year over year or even during the year where you're kind of trending. And then obviously you can look at where your numbers are for volume as well. I always say though, focus on the units more, right? And see where those units are coming from first and where you can kind of, you know, plug things in. I mean, in the last, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 years, they've only had 1, 2, 3, 4 months that they haven't closed a deal. So something they're doing is very consistent, right? Because most agents, you aren't alone, that there's probably at least 4 months out of a year that you're not closing deals, right? For whatever reason, you'll have really big months and then you'll go down and then you'll, right? Because that's not the consistency of lead gen. So I'd go take a look. If you've been in the business a while and you want to look at these reports, it's a really good tool. It's a really good tool to kind of figure out where your business is at. You guys have
Any questions how to access them, anything you need, come see me. Any explanations of the reports, whatever I can do to help, let me know. Happy to help. And every month I'm asked, I have to report all my numbers. I've submitted them into international. Everything is here that I need. I use it a lot.
So what I just talked about in regards to kind of our numbers. So this is year over year numbers that we talk about with Jake and John, right? So in an aspect where I would consult to you, we would talk about your units, we talk about your volume, we talk about your GCI, right? And then we would talk about your profit. We do the exact same thing. And this is the office's numbers, right? So this is January and February. So overall, right, 22 versus 2020 and 2021, we were 43% and 35% of what the company dollar was in that previous year. So it has declined by quite a bit. So instead of then showing it as a negative, we've only gotten 43% of what we had in 2021. And we own a company dollar. The same with 35% of what we had in 2020. Closed units, we're at 74% compared to last year, and 70% compared to 2020. Right, so we have not. We're kind of chasing those years a little bit. Expenses, we're at 81% this year, or compared to last year, and then 53% compared to 2020, which expenses in 2020 were very different, right? It was just a different year. And then in regards to owner profit, it's 0, right? So that's been a very flatlined number for the past few years. In regards to January, similar numbers, right? So we were at 40% both years compared to 2021 and 2020. Closed units, though, we were 84% compared to 2021. And then compared to 2020, I guess isn't shocking in January to be 140% compared to 2020. But and then closed volume, we were at 100% and 170%. And expenses we're pretty close both years. And then owner profit was 14% of what it was. Any questions regarding those numbers? As a market center, we have to look at these every single day, right? As a business owner, you should be looking at your numbers every single day. We even look at these numbers if they don't change, right? So even if it's the same number every single day, we are focusing on what changed in our company dollar, what changed in our agent count. It's a daily thing that we look at. Actually, Heather has to send it out every single day. And it makes us focused on how we're moving forward. It seems like monotonous, right? Every day if nothing changes. And at the same time, like Jim said, what you focus on expands, right? And we know exactly what those numbers are. Good, bad, ugly, all of it. All right. Next.
The agent's numbers.
So agents numbers, when we look at that year over year, right? Compared to 2021, closed units in February, we were at 73%. Compared to 2021, you guys were at 78%. Closed volume, 75% compared to 2021 and 69% compared to 2020. Listings taken, compared to 2021, we were at 109% and compared to 2020, we were 111%. Listings taken volume, we were at 136% and 169% compared to 2020.
You know, and something we gotta think about, there's one team took in 20 listings.
Yep.
20 volume, with 20 million in volume.
Yep.
So if we look at it from that way, I could have maybe done two different numbers there, one removing that one team, because
Or we could just have multiple teams take 20 listings, Heather.
there you
I
go.
feel like that was the wrong mindset to think of.
Sorry.
We're gonna switch that one around.
You're totally right, but just.
Other than that, is there anything else?
Other than that, what else did we want?
Sorry, but yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Do what already happened.
Yeah. 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 So listings sold though, we're at 84% and 81%. I mean, we're pretty consistent on those numbers, right? The last 2 years. And listings sold volume, we're at 79%, 71% of 2020. Contracts written, 69% and 54%. And then contracts written volume, 69%. Is this shocking to anyone, or is this kind of where you guys feel like you guys are at in general?
I think we have to watch the numbers. What year's COVID?
COVID was 2020.
Next month it'll get thrown off.
It'll get thrown off by a lot next month, right? And I would say we're coming off of a lot of people's best year, GCI and volume wise. However, it was not necessarily their best year units wise, right? So we're reaping the benefits of higher commissions and higher volumes, but the units have been down overall from who I've been coaching. I mean, do you agree with that, Shane? So it feels like, that's where I say when it's a feeling, it feels, and you're seeing more money in the bank account, but you might not have as many units. And maybe that was a goal as well of increasing your price point. And that's also a product of what the market is right now. Yeah.
So when you see the numbers like 69%, or like the lower numbers, the percentage wise of
Yeah.
the report, below 100%, is that because of lower inventory, like market, or is it more like you've lost agents, or like what is that?
It could be both, right? Depending on who was producing at the time. I would not say in February we lost a ton of agents in either one of those years. So that wasn't performance on that piece. It's inventory and then also market share, right? So even if inventory is down, are we taking more market share than other companies or other agents? And that's where I think the competition of just more agents in the business is kind of, attacking those numbers a little bit.
Like you could see on the Lord.
Yep.
It was our market center was down, but our area and the MLS were up.
We're up. Yep.
So like you said.
And
We just need to go get
currently
it.
I don't see it like there's like this company has a ton of market share. It is almost like evening out across the board with that, because I think people are really spreading out in where they're choosing to hang their license and run their business. Right?
It's just deals for agents.
Yep. Yep.
I think it's a primary question for agents to got their license.
Yep. And there was a huge influx of agents getting licensed, right? So like,
Are we at the most licensed agents in our metro area than we've ever been?
and that's also why I would say when the shift is going to hit at some point in time, right? And it's not a shift like it used to be, but there is going to be a change in the market, like always, right? When inventory went down and COVID hit, the market changed pretty quickly. Like that was like a dramatic change, right? It shut off and then it started up again. And you never know when something is going to happen again, and you have to be prepared for that. All right, and then this is January. So January was a little different. Those numbers are all a lot higher compared to 2021 and 2020. So again, looking at, seasonality, I wouldn't say seasonality is a thing if we were that high in January in comparison to the last 2 years, which I don't think we've talked about a lot in the last 2 years. I mean, it's been pretty consistent across the board when things have been selling and when people have been listing. All right, so this is actually from Family Reunion. So I wanted to do this because when we're talking about home sales, this is a pretty intense visual, and this is nationwide. This isn't our area. This isn't, Minnesota. The last time that we were at that many home sales, right? So when you think of lack of inventory, you would think there's a lack of sales, right? That's not the case. The case is that there is a very saturated market of buyers that are like scooping up these houses quickly, right? So it's not really that units are that much down, because when you look at this graph, that's where we're at. It's more buyers, right? It's just buyers. There's like the days on market are just super low, and there's a lack of months inventory. Does that make sense? Because I think when people think of inventory, they think there are no homes on the market. No, that's not the case. There's just a ton of buyers across the nation, right? There are pocket areas, and sometimes in our area, the inventory can be incredibly low, but they're getting snatched up very quickly.
Is that because of like a institutional buyer influence?
Well, no, it's mainly because of interest rates and affordability, which we'll go to that slide. When you think about it, affordability of a mortgage right now is incredible.
I think you have a lot of people making more money like in corporate America than they've ever made.
Sure.
You've got a baby populator, a millennial population that's now in their 30s, and they're all making really good money in corporate Minnesota, or just national, I guess. And now they can all afford 6, 7, 800,000 homes. So I think you see this influx of professionals who are making.
Well, and I think there's a lot of redevelopment, right? There's a lot of people moving for businesses, depending on different states' taxes and whatnot. I mean, businesses are up and moving different places. And when you think of that, they're all employees that are moving with that. And then once that business moves, there's infrastructure built around that. When you just think of the expand of that happening in different cities and different states. Okay, next slide. This is a really great visual for people that are like, homes are insanely priced, right? So when you look across the board annually at home prices, this is kind of the trend line, right? So this is the automatic 4% that you're going to be going up annually in a home price. Like that's just kind of the trend. We actually were just kind of finally hitting it, in 2021, but yet did it not feel in 2021 that prices were insane? When really, if we would have followed that trend line, like it kind of should have been every year, except for the dip in 2010 and 11 and 12, like we would have already been there. I think it was just a steeper climb that we felt. And it's starting to, level off, and it's not just skyrocketing. And that's a projection for 2022. What do you guys feel about this slide? I love it. I mean, is it not one where you're like, oh, okay.
It shows you could be above the trend line for another 3 to 4 years, 5 years, potentially.
I like that perspective as well. When you're talking about the bubble, right? Or what's going to happen, or what does that look like? We aren't like out of control right now. When you look at that, buyers feel like they're out of control and I'm overpaying and the market's crazy, but we're not out of control to where it really should be.
The market was catching up.
Yeah.
Because that downturn was horrendous.
Yeah.
I mean, 25-30% drop in values. And so for the past 15 years, the market has been playing catch up. So yeah, it's going to be insane in some places.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
What if you look at the affordability where we are now versus the affordability when the last time the prices were like in the 08 area, and then and related to like the affordability from like 10 to 12 or 14 even, and how that relates to what the prices actually are.
So here's the affordability graph, right? And so when we look at that, well, what does that tell you? long-term average, we're still below average on affordability.
Ravenous fire market.
I mean, by quite a bit, actually. Unless at some point mortgage rates just really kick up, I don't see that hitting that line this year.
That stat take into account inflation?
Oh, let's go to our next slide, Shane.
Wait, I have one more question.
No, go back, wait, okay, go back.
Does it also,
Tease that one up, didn't you?
does it also account for the wage increases that have taken place?
For the affordability.
Or is it
Yeah.
just price versus interest?
No, I
rate?
think it, and I can obviously, I didn't do this graph, but I think it takes all into account at that piece.
Okay.
Because like with the next slide, when it shows that in the affordability and kind of doing wages versus everything that is actually went up, right?
Mm.
So you think of car, gas, home prices and wages, they all have increased, right? And affordability has went up or down. It went up, yeah. And then you look at mortgages and it hasn't. And that's all on interest rates, right? Right now, I mean, that's the one thing that'll really change that piece. Because I think I wasn't doing business way back when, and who's been in business longer?
Why'd you look over this side?
I feel like you have good insight as a broker.
Here's the perspective. When those interest rates were 18
That's
and
what I was saying,
19%, doggone it, people were still buying real estate.
Like, could you imagine
They
an
still sold.
18% interest rate on your mortgage? People are like 3.5 and they were like freaking out. It was 2.7. Like that's a really crazy number for an interest rate. And yet people were still buying houses.
And that worked out pretty well.
And it did. I mean, this slide I think is remarkable, right? When you're thinking of all the things that people are purchasing or doing, or just putting it in perspective as a whole, when you're talking to a buyer or a seller right now, and their objection is, I'm going to pay too much and things are just too expensive. Awesome. Are you not going to go buy gas? Are you going to start taking the bus? Right? Because that's a reality. Like a home, purchasing that is actually incredibly affordable right now. Investing in that is affordable right now. Because then you add rent into that and that's increased, right? So, I mean, you think about buying even an investment property, if someone doesn't want to sell their house, what does that look like when you show them this graph? And then you show them that rents have went up as well. And now those rents are paying for the house that they're purchasing and they're building equity by that. Like that's a whole different conversation that we could go into with buyers and sellers. Who's going to utilize this slide either on social media, on their buyer seller presentations, in an email with friends or family? Are people who aren't going to utilize it doing that because they don't know what to write with it? Okay, so if that is the case, come see me and we'll put something together for that to happen so that you feel confident sharing this in a way that you can engage with anyone that you care about, right? And it doesn't even have to be someone that's buying or selling. It truly could be, hey, do you want to refi? Right? Because that's an option too. That's still an added value that you're giving to people in your sphere.
You get an email out with these graphics. I know these are
Yep.
from Family Reunion, but I don't think they're out yet.
Yep.
So we can start grabbing them,
Yep.
put them out there.
Yeah, we can send them. We can send these to you as well. Do you guys have any questions around that? I mean, are these numbers shocking to you, or did you know that those were the numbers?
No, but I would say people's feelings about things right
Feelings.
now are super inflamed.
Yep.
And I used to say to my kids, Maddie, I'll tell you this truth. Is your
not the barometer of truth.
feelings are not the barometer of truth. Obviously, I said it a lot.
Mic drop.
And so when you have something that actually
gives them some real numbers to hold on to and some perspective. I had a woman tell me the other day, I just heard interest rates are going up to 17% by the end of the year. Well, can you imagine the gasoline that throws on the fire of insecurity about our economic situation, about buying a house? And I heard from a real financial person, she says.
Yeah, well, she's real wrong.
Right.
If she can say that.
But what it says is if you can bring them something like this, you are giving them some data that lets them get comfortable again.
Yeah.
In a really uncomfortable, they're feeling really uncomfortable.
Well, does this not make a buyer feel confident in going 20, 30, 40,000 over on an offer? Would this not make you feel more confident if you were like, oh, I feel like I'm overpaying, and yet you're like, oh, maybe it looks like I'm overpaying, and yet the affordability piece of it, I'm not.
Another slide hits home with that one too.
You know, so it's like
100%.
that building that confidence to those buyers, because I think right now we're trying to, no, it's going to be okay, and this is just how the market is, and this is what we have to do. Well, this is saying why it's not a bad thing that we're doing that either, right? Where it's not like, oh, this is so insane, because I know those are conversations you're having. How's the market? Oh my gosh, there's 1 million offers. I wrote 14 and it's just crazy. If I was a buyer, I would be like, you know what, I think I'm gonna wait like for a little bit, right? And we're kind of, that's exciting, and it's also scary for someone. So we have to take that fear away and build confidence with actual data, right? And if we are going, 20% over asking, 40% over asking, say, do you feel comfortable when you go into this listing, and look in that area? Go do some research and say, hey, overall, these have been selling for at least 25% over asking price. We're going to have to go in there at that, right? Because what do we say now as a buyer's agent? I don't know. It's a free for all. What do you think it's worth? Right? I mean, a lot of people will say that, and maybe not us because we're really great agents, but also, do we have the confidence to know where these houses are going to go? Because I remember our conversation last week. It was like, I don't know. It's crazy. Right? But if we look at past data and say this is what they've been going for, that's an easier decision for those buyers to make. Right?
And it's our terminology. I don't use the word it's crazy. The market is changing rapidly, and we have to stay current with it. So it's changing rapidly. I'm going to find you a house. So not to worry, we're going to get there.
I think Chrissy
And play
said
to
it
win.
about not chasing the market.
Play to
right?
win.
Like
Yeah.
not chasing it as it keeps going, but being ahead of it. And the one way to be ahead of it is by numbers of the past and predicting, right? Like this is where it was. Where do we want to be? All right. So speaking of which, we're going to do a quick role play, right? So in regards to listings, people are like, I don't know where to find these listings, or I'm not sure what else to do. I don't like door knocking. I don't like cold calling. All of it is terrifying to me. I don't know what the script is. So yesterday in our leadership meeting, just with our office, I said, what would it look like if you called up, if you've been in the business, right? If you've been in the business for at least 5 years, 3 to 5 years, and you called up your clients from 2 to 3 years ago and told them what equity they have in their house because of where the market's at, right? What if you did that? It's not even asking them to sell, but you did a really quick, here's where they bought, you do a checkout, what prices sold, in 3-bed, 2-bath, and just give them a kind of roundabout figure. Hey, did you know that houses close by you have sold for this? You bought for 400. This year, 10 houses around you sold for 550. Man, what kind of thoughts does that put in your head right now? Like, you ever thought about moving? Right? So just doing that and starting the conversation with them versus, hey, have you ever thought about selling? Right? Well, no, maybe they haven't because they don't even know why they would think about it. Right? So, Jeff, let's do this as if I was calling my sphere and they bought 4 years ago.
Real quickly, you can do this with anybody. It doesn't have to be necessarily past clients. This can just be your sphere. So if you haven't been in the business for 3 years, I'm sure you know 50 people that own a home.
Or go to your neighborhood and find any of the solds in the last 4 years. And it's going to take a little bit more because you're going to have to find their information. But be like, hey, I saw you guys bought 4 years ago. Do you know what the equity in your house is right now? These houses sold for X, right? you can do that just right in your area. Again, and if you don't know how to, reach out to Jeff, myself. I can help at any point in time, showing you how to do that. And if there's a lot of you, great, let's get together and I can, we can do it in a little bit of a 20-minute class. I know, Jim, you'd be willing to help too on that. So, all right, Ring.
Hello.
Hi, Jeff, how are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm great. So I was just calling, you've been in your house for about, what, 4 years now?
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we got that great deal. We won it in multiples. You bought it for what, 400?
Yeah.
Awesome. So have you done any work on the house lately?
Just odds and ends stuff, nothing significant, but just kind of sprucing it up here and there, nothing crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was just kind of digging around, looking at past clients of mine, and I just realized I took a quick look and saw that there were actually 8 homes in your area, exact same, square footage, beds and baths, and they actually sold for $575 this year. So, I mean, depending on where your house is at right now, that could be $175,000 of equity. Did you know that?
Geez, no, I mean, I've seen a couple come and go. And I didn't know they were like that similar to mine, but I knew there was some that were close, but
Yeah, there's a ton of equity in your house. Have you guys thought about ever moving in the next, 6 months to a year?
I mean, not really. I mean, I think, I don't think this is our forever home. It's a little further out for us probably, but, especially in this market, I don't know if we don't know where to go and want to get caught in the rat race a little bit too, is a little worrisome.
Oh, absolutely. And we can definitely talk through that. So if there was like one thing in your house that you would change or you want differently in a new house, what would it be?
Probably just a little bit bigger living space. And then my wife's working from home now too. So have a little more space for a dedicated office. Probably we're just using our guest bedroom as an office right now.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it changed a little bit in the last few years. Well, I mean, here's what I'm going to do. If I see anything, obviously in your area, because I know you said you don't want to move out of that location, I'm just going to shoot those your way. But the second thing I'd want to ask is, have you ever been interested in taking that equity and investing in real estate?
I mean, I've thought about it. I'd love to invest in real estate. I guess I just don't know where to start. I'm just assuming I don't have enough cash on hand to kind of get that ball rolling.
Awesome. Well, you know what? We haven't met in a while. How about next Monday or Tuesday? We meet and go over some options for either you investing, or even if there's some options of, a house with a bigger living room, if that's is something you're interested in.
Sure, you can do that.
Great. I'll see you next Tuesday at 5.
Sweet, thanks.
Right. Do you think anyone would be like, why did you call me today? I'm not. If you called with that, someone would be like, what? Right? And those are realities for some people, right? And you're providing the knowledge and the value. Would you feel comfortable saying that to someone and having those calls? Awesome, because guess what? We're doing it next Wednesday, right before the team meeting. So we're going to give you a week to put together your list, to do some research on, 5 to 10 people that you've either helped or people that you've researched, right? And we're going to meet in here. I'm going to be here and I'm going to be doing calls. Jeff's going to be here. He's going to be doing calls, and we're going to do it together, and we're going to do a little scripting right beforehand. So who can I see a raise of hands who's committed to doing that next week? Awesome. And if you decide to come in and you don't have any numbers, I might have some extra for you. If you want food, I will bring all the food. If it is food, I will bring food. If that's what's going to get you here, I'm there. I will get some food. We will have food. But guys, this is what I want, right? Like this, does this make you feel more comfortable? And is this a new way for you to lead gen that you feel okay about? Like more than just, hey, do you know anyone in the market that wants to buy or sell? If I got that call from someone, I think it would spark interest of some way, right? Even if I'm not going to sell, I'd be like, oh, investing might be kind of fun. I mean, or great, what if they pull that out and they put it into a money market? Whatever it is, you are providing value to them that they didn't know they even had in their home. And I guarantee most agents are not doing this. So, they can call and say that they're going to list their house, but are they providing that level of value to them? Guarantee they're not. All right. I want to be conscious, we have training after this, wants and needs, can we get those out to Lydia and she will send those in an email because it's actually 12:02. Does anybody have any questions before we start with the training afterwards? If not, go have an awesome day and we will send those slides out.
Let's go.
Here.
Get the clappers out.
We didn't need the clappers. We're so excited.